Welcome to the Leaderonomics show. I'm with Akhtar Badshah from Microsoft. He's the head of Citizenship. Akhtar, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Roshan, for inviting me.
You know, you're very interesting because you started out in architecture and then you taught at MIT and now you're with Microsoft in Citizenship. How did that all come together?
You know, it's not that difficult to transition. You know, my work at MIT when I trained as an architect was also in urban development and community development. And as we start looking at communities and how do you redesign communities, how do you create urban fabric, you are also working with community-based organizations and understanding their needs, and that urban development and community development goes hand in hand in economic development. So from there I moved into working for a non-profit organization and started a number of non-profit organizations myself, and then got recruited by Microsoft to come and run their citizenship program.
What led you to go into the non-profit space?
You know, I mean, I think that part of it was just a challenge. You know, to me, it seemed like a natural thing to do, that I was teaching and I was talking about these things, whereas in the non-profit sector, I was actually going out into the community and doing it. So that kind of gave me a very different experience. And now, in the citizenship work, at a corporate citizenship work, I'm a funder. So I'm kind of come
one full circle.
One full circle. So it seems more of a transition than as a complete break from what I was doing.
Right. How did you get into architecture? I mean, was that something you always aspired to be?
Not really. I mean, you know, I wanted to be a nuclear scientist. I wanted to learn quantum physics.
And then something went wrong.
And I really didn't hack it. You know, it was not my, I mean, I had both the left and the right side of the brain, and it was, I mean, I needed something to do something that was also visually attractive for me. Architecture became the space where you had to have both of your brains, or both sides of your brains operating, because you have to be technically astute and you also have to be a designer. And that's what led me into architecture.
And then that led you to teaching?
And that led me into teaching because I went to MIT to get my master's, and then I was asked to join what was then being a new program that was being started, which was called Design for Islamic Societies. And which is why I then came to KL on a number of different occasions because of the work that was happening here.
Right, and tell us about your experience in Kuala Lumpur. I mean, you were involved with the whole development of the KLCC area, right?
So I came to Kuala Lumpur for the first time in 1984. And I started working with the Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, which is the Malaysian Institute of Architects, and also came here to teach courses at the University Sanes Malaysia. And because I was teaching Islamic architecture, and at that time there was talk about the redevelopment of this area, which was called the Golden Triangle. And on this space existed the Selangor Turf Club. And we did a competition to try and come up with alternative ways in which this area could be redesigned. And that's eventually what led to the redevelopment of KLCC, which I was not involved in, but we actually did a lot of the work that led to this whole development.
So now you're sitting in the site where
I'm now sitting in the site where we were, you know, we were actually focusing on.
Fantastic. You know. So tell us about citizenship in Microsoft? I mean, or just citizenship in general. I mean, it's a space that not many people understand.
So, I mean, you're correct. I mean, you know, the thing is that most people believe that companies should be creating wealth, generating wealth. That you create a product, you generate wealth, and you let people, individuals, decide how money should be spent for social development activities. However, corporations are also made up of individuals. You know, they're not just some entity. And these individuals also want to give back to society. They all come from different walks of life. They've had different experiences. And in our case, when we look at it, we have been at the forefront of developing technology which has now become ubiquitous. But that ubiquitousness does not necessarily reach all segments of society. So what is the role a corporation should play to ensure all segments of society can garner the benefits of this technology? And that's where then citizenship comes in. That we know that market forces are not going to get this technology there, but can we then look at it from a different perspective to ensure that this technology comes in? So that's really how corporations kind of look at it, that it is for mutual benefit. It actually gives you the license to operate, but it also keeps your employees happy because they have a venue to do something with their talent. And it's one way by which we can actually get our mind share and our technology, in this case, it is a technology, to benefit society as a whole.
Yeah. So what are some of your proudest moments at Microsoft, I mean, in terms of
so, I mean,
citizenship?
one of the things that we have done is, since my almost 10 years, we launched this whole initiative, which was to bring technology to the underserved community around the world.
Okay.
And in this time, we've been able to establish 70,000 technology learning centers around the world.
Wow. Okay.
Where we reach over 300 million people.
Right.
And they use these technology centers, whether it's old people, young people, to connect, to learn, to come up with things that they need to do. And since the last year, we designed a new program called Youth Spark.
Okay.
And simply because we also saw that technology has changed over that period of time dramatically. When I joined, there was no Facebook. I mean, you were barely doing things on the web. And now it's completely different.
Yeah.
And how can we now position technology for young people so that they can actually use it to create benefits for themselves? Economic benefits, where they can actually get into a job, where they can start something on their own or go for further studies. So so Youth Spark has become now a signature program. And since last year, we've reached over 103 million people through the programs that we have done. And that's the exciting part.
And I know one of it is to beam scientists or astronauts from space through Skype into the classrooms, right?
Correct. Well, we are actually beaming astronauts into the classroom. We actually have another program where this guy is going down in a submarine and he's going to be there for 30 days.
Wow.
He's going to be studying the ocean and we're going to beam him into the classroom.
Fantastic.
And, so there are lots of different ways. I mean, we have a whole program called Skype in the Classroom, which reaches 40,000 teachers around the world where they are able to connect with other classes and conduct learning experiences. Right. Here in Malaysia, we are launching a new program, which is our Youth Spark Stars with the Ministry of Youth.
Yeah, that's right.
Where we really want them to work with us to identify these social innovators, provide them with mentorship support, provide them with other support so that they can thrive. I mean, Johnson, who's one of our...
From Epic Homes, right?
From Epic Homes. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. I mean, he's figured out that I can actually use technology to cut down the cost of building a home.
So that everyone can have a home, right?
And everybody can have a home, and he's using technology to bring in volunteers to build. So these are very interesting things for us, and we know that young people, as Senator Kerry said, I mean, he gave these examples of all of these leaders are young leaders. You don't lead after you get old.
Yep. Well, you do sometimes.
But the point is that you've actually started much early.
Yes, and you can do a lot more.
And that's where you become a change maker.
Absolutely. Yep. So how does one get into this citizenship space? I mean, if I'm a young graduate just coming out of school and I want to do what I want to be, you're my role model. I want to be what what you are. What should I do? I mean,
so part of the way I kind of try and frame it is that look, if you are interested in making change, make change. Any individual can make
this
change.
Is positive social change.
Positive social change.
Yep.
It can be small changes. But if you do that, and you've continuously done that, then you become attractive for somebody like me.
I see. Okay.
That you already have the skill sets to be a change maker.
Right, and you have the heart also.
And the more important thing for me is the skill set. Heart, all of us have.
Yeah. Okay.
I can get the heart to beat.
Okay.
But
Fair
I
enough.
need the mind
And
to
the ability.
develop the skill sets that are required. So if you're out there volunteering, if you're already making change, then you become attractive to corporations who would come in and say, okay, this person can actually run our citizenship work.
Fantastic.
Because we don't have to, they know what to do.
Yep.
So if this is what you want to do, start, be a change maker. It doesn't matter. You can be volunteering, 1 hour a month, and you can just be mentoring a young kid. That in itself is an important trait. Rather than saying, I want to come to a corporation into citizenship to do social good.
Absolutely. I got very insightful. Thanks so much. We're out of time. We've been with Akhtar Badshah from Microsoft, Head of Citizenship. Akhtar, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you very much.